So, a question. What is the unit of culture? This has been an unsolved problem in biocultural evolution and memetics for over 40 years since Richard Dawkins wrote The Selfish Gene in 1976. But there may be a unifying solution. Richard Dawkins suggests the unit of selection is the gene. E.O. Wilson suggests group selection. D.S. Wilson suggests multi-level selection. What if they're all correct? What if they're looking at different parts of the same beast? Is it possible to have unity and diversity? Maybe it's the gene, the group, the species, multi-level selection all at once because they're all HOLON-partons. These things are hard to spot. It took me 20 years to work it out, so let me see if I can explain it. I think a better question is, what is the structure of the meme, the unit of culture? After all, in 1953, Watson and Crick published on the structure of DNA, and that solved a lot of problems. So, what if this is the structure of the meme, the unit of culture? A HOLON-parton. By the end of this talk, hopefully I'll have you seeing two things at once. I'll have you seeing double. In a good way, we hope. This is selected diagrams from my recent article in the Encyclopedia of Creativity. And there's a little bit of information about me, Velikovsky of Newcastle, from the Newcastle School of Creativity. So, what if this is the structure of the meme, the unit of culture? And what if it's a HOLON-parton, a whole and a part at the same time? Or we could look at biology, bioculture. It's the same structure, I believe. And I'd like to suggest the evolutionary creativity algorithm or formula or model for all bioculture might be as simple as this. I goes to P, goes to I, repeat. So ideas, processes, and products, the internal world, the world of mental processes, and the world of external products, which is Karl Popper's Worlds 1, 2, and 3 from his 1978 article, 3 Worlds. And this is a bit more detailed diagram of the model, and I'll get to explain that later. Most of this is on my PhD weblog, Storyality, and my PhD is also online there too. I published my PhD in 2016. In the appendix was a book chapter from a book called Creative Technologies for Multidisciplinary Applications, and that's what I'd like to discuss now, the HOLON-parton structure of the meme, the unit of culture, and the narreme, or unit of story, because stories are part of culture, and it's all the same thing. That chapter went on to be republished in Encyclopedia of Information Science and Technology, Technology Adoption, Social Issues, an AI textbook, and it's just recently been published in the Encyclopedia of Creativity. There's the URL there if anyone's interested to read it. I like Laswell's 5W model of communication. I also like Claude Shannon's model, of course. In terms of this presentation, the who is me. I'm suggesting the structure of the meme, the unit of culture, is the HOLON-parton, which I'll get to. I guess it's on a YouTube channel and audio, video, PowerPoints. Hopefully to you, the audience, whoever's listening, and who knows what effect this may have. Let's see if you like it. So, what's the basic algorithm for creativity? Combine two old things to get a new thing, and it works. So there's one old symbol, the question mark, another one, the exclamation mark, and in the 60s they got combined into the interrobang. Combine two old things to get a new thing, and it works. That's worth Googling sometime if you don't know about it, the interrobang, or the bang for short. So, a quick systems theory discussion. Systems are very simple. There can be a black box if you don't know what's going on inside, which is full of processes, which are algorithms. Systems have inputs and outputs, and they exist in an environment, and they're made of matter, energy, and information. That's it. Pretty easy, really. And so I'd like to look at memes as HOLON-partons, units of bioculture, and I want us to think about systems, because systems are HOLON-partons. There are systems within systems within systems. So the three laws of HOLON-partons are quite simple. They integrate upwards into the larger HOLON-parton on the level above. They compete, cooperate, and engage in co-opetition, like when you get married, on the same level of scale, and they control and command downwards the HOLON-partons on the level below, which are inside them. So this is another diagram from the Encyclopedia of Creativity article, a systems view from quarks up to multiverses. Down the bottom there we have quarks. There's a picture of an atom in the bottom right. Hopefully that's what they look like. Then some people, roughly medium-sized in the middle, and then a universe up top and 3 multiverses above that, just to give a sense of where we are in terms of scale. And each of those units, when we look across the levels sideways, is a HOLON-parton, and it obeys the 3 laws of HOLON-partons. And by the way, all systems are algorithms. Excuse me. Organisms are algorithms. Solar systems are algorithms. Ecosystems are algorithms, and so on. As above, so below. Zooming in closer, down the bottom right, we have a interrobang for a quark. I thought that was the best symbol to represent that. Then we go up through the levels, atoms, a cell, the unit of life, which of course contains DNA, but DNA usually isn't much good outside of a cell. It's a set of instructions that has no process, no product to activate its processes on. So I like to think of everything as either ideas, processes, or products. And then we go all the way up, organs, and then organ systems above that. And then people or persons are composed of organ systems. They're an organism. And so on. We're still obeying the 3 laws of HOLON-partons all the way, and all of these on each sideways or horizontal level is an algorithm, or set of nested algorithms. Moving on up to the middle part of the diagram, down the bottom now we have the people. We can go up all those levels, still obeying the laws of HOLON-partons, and we reach the level of nation. We've got an upside-down globe there, which is a planet or a biosphere. And so nations make up continents or biomes, and then continents make up planets or biospheres. The world is upside down because I like to look at things from a different angle. We can keep going up through the units, through the levels, planet, solar system, galaxy, keep going up. Galaxies. We're about halfway through the diagram now. See on the right there's a picture of a galaxy in the middle of the screen. We have clusters. Clusters form into a supercluster, into a filament, a universe. And I suggest Nick Bostrom and others are probably right. Hugh Everett III, we probably exist in a multiverse. It may even be a simulation. I'm a big fan of Consilience by Edward O. Wilson. The unity of knowledge, that's one great unit of culture right there. A book is a unit of culture, but a word is a unit of culture, so is a sentence. They're all memes, units, but they're structured as HOLON-partons, and they obey the 3 laws of HOLON-partons. I suggest. I could be wrong. So this is what consilience or vertical integration of the sciences or the unity of knowledge can look like. If we start down the bottom half, right at the bottom we have evolutionary mathematics or mathematical systems. If you have a universe with astronomy and you have geology because you have planets and physics and you have chemistry, you can keep moving up this ladder, as it were, of emergence. And let's look at the top half now. Let's skip up from chemistry to biology. I won't keep saying evolutionary because I think it's all evolutionary with the evolutionary algorithm operating on every level. And that top half we see once you have biology coming out of organic chemistry, life can emerge. And of course, with life, there comes problems, as Karl Popper noted and Brian Boyd noted. And you need some kind of a control system inside that biological organism. So that's evolutionary psychology, the algorithms that control our if-then decisions, or our brain, or the nucleus of a cell. And moving upwards, if we have social organisms, whether they're plants, animals, archaea, anything, we have sociology, and then emerges anthropology, which is external culture. And at the top there, I've got evolutionary culturology, when we study units of culture such as books, movies, songs, words, languages, anything in culture you can name. This is what it looks like when you have the vertical integration of the sciences. So complexity goes upwards as more things emerge and evolve, because units are always being combined to create a new and useful unit, hopefully. And the ones that aren't usually get falsified in their environment and may become extinct. Moving along, this is a Cantor set, which is a mathematical beast, showing the structure of the HOLON-parton. So we have parts and wholes at the same time. Each one of those units, or memes if you like, is a part and a whole at the same time, obeying the three laws, which are three laws of physics. So I suspect E.O. Wilson is quite right. The laws of physics extend up through all domains and down. Totals all the way up, all the way down. If we take a close look at a block of text, such as this one here, this is another diagram from the Encyclopedia of Creativity article. We see that you have whole letters, which when combined make up whole words. So T can be combined with H and E and become the word thee, which is a very old conserved meme or unit of culture. One of the oldest words in existence, I'm led to believe. And then you can combine words into phrases or clauses, and you can combine those into sentences and paragraphs, sections, chapters, books, libraries, and so on. I suggest reading the article if more details of interest. And so there's also a diagram showing that it's HOLON-parton structures all the way up and down, looking at a canonical book. So it's more detail in the article, in the chapter, and going all the way up to all Earth culture, considered as one meme, one HOLON-parton, one unit of culture. All the way obeying those three laws. I want to point out the difference between mereology, which is a domain in culture, and HOLON-partology. Basically, mereology, in terms of scale, goes sideways within the same scale or horizontally, so that's on the left, whereas HOLON-partons, which is what I'm talking about for the most part, they go vertically, so up and down in terms of scale, big to small, or small to big. And so you can see in there, in one of those units, there's a miniature picture of the cup losing its handle. So those types of parts and wholes go sideways. HOLON-partons go up and down in terms of scale. So this is another diagram showing there's Popper's three worlds down the bottom, worlds 3, 2, and 1, or the worlds of ideas, or the interior world, when we're being introspective, shall we say, or perhaps doing meditation. Then there's world 2, which is the world of processes. So you'll see that algorithmic sign there, where ideas go across to the right into products in the external world. And of course, that Janus-faced individual there with the cogs turning in its brain as a process can look at objects in the outside world or products and can mentally combine two or more old ideas to create a new idea in their interior, shall we say, in their mind, in their imagination, and then through a process they can create that object and move it into the products of the exterior world. So at the top, there's the formula I goes to P goes to I, and that's a iterative recursion. It's a simple algorithm. I like it because it's even shorter than E equals MC squared. So this is another diagram from the encyclopedia article. External memes or products in the outside world, and internal memes or ideas. And so this shows the details with regard to Popper's three worlds theory. In the top left there, we have two overlapping circles, but it's fractal. It's self-similar on different scales, smaller or larger. And the mandorla is an old symbol involving mandorla means almond because of the overlap in the middle. So combine two old things to get a new thing. I like this symbol for representing creativity. Down below that we have again the world of ideas, or the interior world. In the middle, the overlap, we have mental processes and the exterior world of products, and it's fractal all the way up and down. At any rate, the article goes into more detail on external memes and internal memes, but these ideas or units of culture, they move between the internal and the external world, iteratively and recursively, and recombine, much like many other things in biology, such as recombinant DNA, and we have this mirroring effect. I believe this applies through all levels, the selection, variation, transmission algorithm. So down the bottom in the diagram, we have a pool of units in an environment or an ecosystem. They could be biological units, they could be cultural units, external world, non-living material. If we select two items from the pool and we vary them, one way is by combining their elements, then we transmit that new resulting unit back into the pool, and that cycle iteratively and recursively continues. You eventually have evolution because of the variation that's taking place, and there's at least 4 levels of selection: natural, sexual, artificial or intentional, and unconscious. At any rate, applied evolutionary epistemology goes into more detail on all of that. This is a 3-part model that I included in the article. I'm synthesizing ideas of D.K. Simonton, Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, R.K. Sawyer, and essentially ideas from the Newcastle School of Creativity. So if we zoom in to the top section there, we have the domain, because in the left hand, the top 3 overlapping circles is the domain, the bottom right is the person, and the bottom left is the field or the audience. So looking closer at the domain, we have canonical or living memes or units of culture or units of biology, and we have archived or extinct or fossilized units of culture or memes. And so there are various divisions and ways we can categorize different classes of those items. There is more detail in the article referenced on the left. If we zoom in on the person in the bottom right of the big model, they have a blind variation and selective retention system as well. So it's a HOLON-parton nested inside the bigger system. They have a memory that can absorb memes and retain them or select them, an imagination which can generate new memes by combining them, and then a judgment system whereby we can select which memes to put into the external world and present to the field or the audience in the external world. At which point, when we look at the third part of the puzzle there, the field or the audience includes amateurs, the gatekeepers, or people who filter in and out the information that or the products that come into the domain, and critics. And this too is a filtering system in terms of selective retention. So the units of culture that are judged creative or new, useful and surprising are selected for the domain as canon, and the ones that are, shall we say, rejected or falsified become archive or are filed away and maybe ignored or forgotten for some time, or go extinct or become fossilized if we're talking about biology rather than culture. This is also in my PhD, this model of creative practice theory. This combines ideas of Csikszentmihalyi's systems model of creativity with Pierre Bourdieu's field theory, which the Newcastle School is famous for combining. There's quite a lot of research goes on using this kind of analytical lens on creativity. And there's more detail in the thesis if of interest. And there's also on the PhD blog a 3D animated model showing a person being born into a socio-cultural system, developing a history, developing a habitus or feel for the game in Bourdieu's term, getting access to economic capital, and internalizing the domain, and navigating the field, acquiring social, cultural, economic capital, and they may create an artifact or a unit of culture that the field judges as creative and thus enters the domain, in which case they may receive symbolic capital. So that's an evolving Venn diagram there, combining Csikszentmihalyi and Bourdieu's theories. So that can be reduced to a 12-step algorithm, and those two recipes on the right-hand side there show that process, that stage model of creativity for writer hyphenates in the top 20 return on investment movies, and down below for fiction writers, for example, novelists, but can be applied to essentially any creative domain, whether in biology or culture, sciences or the arts. This is another diagram from the encyclopedia chapter, the 5C spectrum of creativity, ranging from everyday creativity up to highly eminent genius creativity, or boldface big C, as Dean Simonton calls it. There's more detail in the chapter, but this is what ends up happening to the units of culture. They are judged as either works of genius all the way down to, shall we say, everyday creativity, which happens all day, every day, whenever we combine two old ideas to come up with a new one. And this is an interesting view of how culture grows somewhat like biology, in terms of when you have a transmedia story universe, say Harry Potter or Star Wars, The Matrix, etc. Every time you have a new unit added, such as a movie or a novel, a game or a comic or a website, any new unit of culture, the whole universe, the whole transmedia story universe grows, so it unifies upwards because it's all still the same transmedia world, and also diversifies downwards into, or speciates into, different forms of media. It's one way to look at culture growing, in the same sense that Karl Popper proposed evolutionary epistemology with D.T. Campbell. And likewise, there's a tree of technology that is unified upwards, so we have all human culture as one unit, one meme, one HOLON-parton, and that's composed of memes, units of culture, and I see them as tools, and I see all tools as technology. And so on the left we have spoken language leading to written language and print media, books and so on. In the middle we have domesticated fire as a tool leading to cooking and other domains such as blacksmithing, culinary arts, machines, etc. And on the right we have the invention of the wheel leading to transport, trains, aircraft, spacecraft and so on. So diversifying downwards as new ideas are combined, and unifying upwards into all human culture. This leads further to what I call a tree of culture, which is a timeline of when various first international conferences occurred for various domains in science and culture. So that's interesting to examine. The domain of screenwriting only had its first international conference officially in 2008, so it's quite a young domain compared to philosophy or mathematics, shall we say. More detail in the chapter. This is one way you can apply this model of evolutionary creativity yourself at home if you'd like to do citizen science, which is always good fun. We're looking here at 3 variations on the 1 unit, so 3 spellings of the word encyclopedia over time, and we can see that the green one, which has an AE in the middle down the bottom, that's called an ash, that symbol. And again, combine 2 old things to create a new one, and it works. But unfortunately, it died out around 1810. You can see the green line kind of dips and then goes extinct or archive, whereas there's still quite an interesting evolutionary arms race going on between the other 2 spellings of encyclopedia to this day. If the Google Books corpus is any reflection of the internal culture in the minds of people living in the world in the past. Again, more detail is in the chapter. So, I would very much like some feedback on this chapter, if possible. If you're watching this, thank you very much. And or any of the other chapters that are all on the same topic. It would be good to know if this can be falsified, or if I've missed anything, or if I've missed everything. Any feedback or comments or criticism would be greatly appreciated. And as I say, the PhD is online for free if anyone's interested too, and the book chapter as well, because it was an appendix to the PhD. And in a nutshell, that's the HOLON-parton structure of the meme, the unit of culture. But I like to think of it as bioculture, because I believe biology is also structured through HOLON-partons. And very interested in your thoughts. Here's just a small selection of people we would love to have comment on this material. Many of these scholars have done such excellent work before in the field of cultural evolution, biological evolution, memetics. Everyone has had something great to offer, which if I have come up with anything with this model or theory, it's only thanks to all these people and more. And I do apologize if your name's not on there. It's not because we didn't think of you, it's because I've been told to keep this PowerPoint short. So please forgive, and look forward to hearing your response. Once again, there's a nice simple formula. I was inspired by the formula for the Mandelbrot set there, and there's a lovely documentary by Arthur C. Clarke called The Colours of Infinity, if you're interested in seeing more about fractal geometry. As a side note, I'm currently writing a book to try and expand these encyclopedia chapters out to full book length. There's a design for the book cover. I'd like to have the book split in half so that the first half is theory and the second half is practice. And I think the book will be half upside down, so you can read the theory half or the practice half first, depending on what seems of interest. But in the meantime, I'd like to test out all the aspects and elements of this theory that I'm tentatively putting forward. So please do get in touch and comment. It would be very much appreciated. Once again, my details, and thank you so much for listening.